Welcome to today's episode of Sassy Detectives. We are your hosts,
Tori.
and Ray. We are here to talk about anything and everything Nancy Drew, and today we'll be talking about Secret of Shadow Ranch.
Woo!
Roll the intro.
Okay, so to get started, we are going to talk about the different aspects of Secret of Shadow Ranch. So I
Yes.
guess we'll start with just talking about the plot and the mystery. So, what are your thoughts about that?
I think this game has honestly one of my favorite plots in the games. Like, it's really fun. You get to know like certain things about each different character, and you also get like really good like historical mystery. And I have always loved when the games have a little historical mystery that's happening behind the scenes of like the actual mystery. I think that's super fun.
Yeah, me too. I think that like one of the really cool things about Secret of Shadow Ranch is that it feels like the events of what happened in the past with like Dirk and Francis and Meryl, they feel like just as relevant to the plot as everything that's going on at the ranch in present day. And I think just that sort of marriage between like the historical aspects of the ranch and also the things that are currently happening is something that we don't really see a ton, I think, in the series. I think a lot of
Yeah.
the games are like really focused on like current happenings, and I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing of other games. I just
Oh
think
yeah,
it's something
absolutely
very
not.
unique. Yeah, it's just something unique about this game that I think just really serves its purpose well and makes the immersion, I think, of just the ranch as a whole and like the emotional investment that people even before the Raleighs had in this location.
Oh yeah. Oh
It
my
just
gosh, the emotional
yeah,
investment.
it really sells just the whole thing and just like a nice little package with a nice little bow on top, you know?
Yeah,
So,
it's
big
just
fan.
it's a solid game, solid game. Great place to start the podcast. Um, Honestly, if this had been my first game too, that would be a great first game to play for this. Unless
I
you're used to like super new games.
yeah. For me, this kind of was my first game. It wasn't actually my first
Oh,
game.
really?
My first game was Secrets Can Kill. I was 10 years old and I got that for my 10th
Ah.
birthday. And I played it with my mom, and it took us like weeks because we didn't know
Oh no.
we didn't know there was any such thing as like the message boards. Like we didn't go on for like online
Oh
help, so it
yeah.
was like a lot of just like wandering around trying to figure out what was going on. And I remember the
Mm-hmm.
ending of Secrets Can Kill terrified me. So I was like,
Oh
I'm never
yeah.
playing another one of these games. And then when I
Well,
was
that didn't
12,
last long.
yeah. And then when I was 12, we had these neighbor girls that were a few houses down from me, and they were like, "Have you ever played any of the Nancy Drew games?" And I was like, "Yes," and I will never touch one again. And they were like,
Oh
"No,
no.
no, like they were like, you should try the new one that just came out." And I was like, "Well, which one is that?" And they were like, "It's called Secret of Shadow Ranch." And I remembered that was one of the books because I had been reading the books for so
Mm-hmm.
many years. So I went over to
Yeah.
their house and played Secret of Shadow Ranch, and I fell in love, and that's why I'm like here today in the community is because of that moment right
Yeah.
there. So in a way, Secret of Shadow Ranch was my first game, and I think that's why it holds like such a like special part in my heart. But a lot of that
Yeah.
also has to do with like the mystery. I just thought the mystery was so good.
Yeah, I love the mystery. This game, it wasn't my first game, but it was one of the first games I'd played. I actually did not finish a game by myself until I was about 13 years old, but like
Hmm.
my friend, my childhood bestie at the time, we lived on the same street and everything. We would go over and play at her house and everything, and then sometimes we would play Nancy Drew games. And the first time I had ever heard of the Nancy Drew games, I was like 7 years old. I'd been reading Nancy Drew games Nancy Drew books since I was about 5. And I was one of those really weird autistic kids who was just reading 24/7 and did not
Yeah.
know how to stop. I was one of those ones.
Yeah.
But so, and I was obsessed with Nancy Drew, obsessed. Anybody would say anything related to anything that could be in a Nancy Drew book, I would be like, "Did you know that there's a Nancy Drew book that has this in it?" I was super annoying. But then my friend, she and I were, I think we were playing Barbies together. It was either Barbies or My Little Ponies,
Okay, Slay.
and we were playing. And her older sister was on the computer playing a video game. And I was like, "Oh, what's she playing?" And she's like, oh, she's playing the Nancy Drew game. And I was like, there's video games?
A new world.
Yeah. And my friend, she was also I think she continues to be a horse girl to this very day,
Oh heck
but
yeah.
very, very much so horse girl. And so her favorite game was Secret of Shadow Ranch. And so we would play that a lot. We never finished it, ever, but we played it.
Yeah, I was a horse girl too for a number of years. I would like ride and show horses.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think even
so
if you aren't like an actual horse girl, like everybody has an inner horse girl. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I feel like when you play a game like Secret of Shadow Ranch, you become a horse girl, even if you're not a horse
Exactly.
girl or even a girl. I think you just become a horse girl.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Because I also think Tex is a horse girl. So it's
So,
definitely a horse girl, though.
but another thing I want to talk about real quick with the plot is
Hmm.
I find it really interesting that they bring in the sort of idea of like that there's like people involved even outside of the ranch and could be
Oh,
potentially
yeah. That's
involved
a
in
good
what's
one.
going on, and I think that's always really interesting, and I in some ways it kind of makes you feel like the stakes are a little bit higher because it's like you don't ever get to
Hmm.
know the people who could be potentially behind the nefarious acts. And
Yeah.
so you never get like, as a kid, I was convinced that like I would be out on Bob riding around and at some point I would like run into strange people I didn't know that were going to try to cause harm to me. And so it always made me feel like a little bit nervous to like go out, especially when you're in like Dry Creek and
Oh,
Cougar
yeah.
Bend
Dry
and
Creek
like
is freaky. I love Dry Creek.
yeah, and so like those moments I think I think that the plot overall is just one of those things that like it's more complex than it seems on the surface, and some of that you
Hmm.
don't get in your initial playthrough, and you have to like play through it again to understand kind of the deep like the deep rooted, you know, histories and emotions and how like Dirk Valentine's letters and puzzles like the intention behind all of that. You know, when you're, you know, 10,
Ah,
11, 12,
yes.
13, like you don't really get it. Especially like okay, I'm tangenting a little bit. I forgive me, but this is my
No
favorite
tangent.
game.
No tangent.
Yeah, like this is my favorite game. So I have a lot to talk about. But like Meryl's journal.
Oh my gosh,
It
Noah's journal.
it doesn't matter if you're 12 or if you're 30 like I am. Like it does not matter. Every time I read that journal, which her interactive did a great job at doing voiceover work for all of the like letters and journals
Oh
that you
yeah,
get from Dirk, Francis, and
10 out
Meryl.
of
And I
10.
I wish
Yeah.
that they had done that with other games because it really sells the story because they feel like real people. Like you're reading these real letters and these real journals and they feel like real people, and so you care about them like quicker than you do. Like they're like for instance, by example or by comparison, I should say, in Message in a Haunted Mansion, there's lots of letters as well from like Lizzie Applegate and like people who used to work in the mansion. And there's
Oh
not
my.
the same emotional investment when you read those letters as there are when you read the letters in Secret of Shadow Ranch. And
Yeah, and
so,
I also struggle to read a lot of the letters in Message in a Haunted
good point.
Mansion, but
Good
we'll
point.
get
That's
there when we get there.
yeah. Um, but I think that it's just like one of those things where it's like it doesn't matter how old you are when you are going through that journal from Meryl. Like you see the
Oh yeah.
progression of like the like turmoil and tension, and Meryl's just trying to do like what he thinks is right and like you know enact justice because it's his job, and he realizes that like this is way more complicated and there's a lot more like at risk or at stake, and his consequences in doing these things have you know he doesn't understand like the depth of the consequences until they're coming to pass,
Yeah.
and it's like you can't really blame him, but you also you know you can't really like blame the other characters at play either. It's just like one of those things that you can just see the heartbreak unfold,
Hmm.
and like your heart breaks along with all of it, but it's just so
Absolutely.
good. Like it's just so good. And
And I also love the little detail of the tear stains, the little
oh
teardrops on
gosh,
the
yes.
paper on the last page. Like
Uh-huh.
that right there is heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking.
It is.
Ugh. It's just it's
Ugh.
such a good game. I love this game. It's a very, very solid game.
And I
Yeah,
mean,
so
I also think that like one last note
uh-huh.
on the plot is that like
Yes.
I think the inclusion, if we're going to talk about like the things that are happening currently at the ranch, it's a very interesting concept to do like a ghost horse idea,
Mhm.
because I think any mystery that has like an element where people believe something supernatural is happening is always really interesting, and I love that sort of thing because Nancy Drew as a character, she always looks at things and she's like, I'm not going to believe something is supernatural until I cannot prove it otherwise. And so I think
Yeah,
it's always just really fun to know that like your goal is like, I'm going to prove that this is not actually a ghost.
I
So
love these ones.
yeah, so I just like that sort of approach to things, and like Nancy, like since you play as Nancy and like knowing that that's always going to be the goal is like, let me prove like what is true about this. And I guess that's true for all things, but I like the mysteries that
Mhm.
kind of have that question of like, is this supernatural or is it just a trick kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I love that aspect of it. And I love that since there are 3 days in Sacred of Shadow Ranch,
Yeah.
there's three hauntings. And I really
Yes.
love that detail. I
Yeah.
also think even though it's not like a technically like a haunting, like some of the spooky stuff that happens at Dry Creek is an excellent touch on the little spooky aspects of the game. Like you see that person, or you see a shadow in the window or something
Oh, yeah,
somewhere, and
yeah.
then there's like a rock that like falls down from somewhere, and just
That's what I'm saying.
those
I was convinced I
tiny,
was going to die.
yeah, yeah. Well, then you do get knocked out and
Yeah.
put in the jail cell. So the fear wasn't completely out of nowhere, but
Right.
yeah. So should we do just a little basic plot summary?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so we are playing as Nancy Drew, and we arrive before Bess and George at their aunt and uncle's ranch in Phoenix, Arizona. It's called Shadow Ranch. Oh my
Ooh.
gosh. That's so unpredictable. Okay, but one of my favorite things in the beginning of it is that Dave comes to pick her up wearing chaps,
And Nancy,
and
who
it's
has a
just
boyfriend, takes a picture
takes
of Dave in the chaps to send to Bess and George because, okay.
plus Ned. But yes, there's that. And so sometimes you can go to talk to the cook first, Shorty, and then sometimes you can talk to Bet and Ed first. It just depends on who you talk to first. But if you talk to Shorty first, you'll be like, go talk to the Raleighs. And so we call the Raleighs and we're like, hey, and they're like, yeah, I got bit by a snake.
You're like,
Which as
oh.
Yeah, when I played this game as a kid, like I'm super scared of snakes. Like it is a genuine phobia for me. So
Mm-hmm.
when I played this game the first time, I instantly was like, I'm going to get bit by a snake in this game, aren't I? And yes, depending on how you play the game,
Yeah.
you you can. But yeah, so we learn he has a snake bite and there's a phantom horse, and then we're like, wow, that is a fun mystery. And Nancy's super excited about the mystery because it's Nancy. If anything goes wrong, that's like a heyday for her. She loves that.
Mm-hmm.
So then we meet Shorty, and we find out that we have to do chores every day.
Yeah, we gotta pull our weight while we're here at the ranch.
Oh yes, and it is some of the chores are actually kind of fun, and some of them involve me nearly rage quitting a game because I cannot pick the right vegetable.
We'll talk about that in puzzles. We'll talk about that when we talk
Yeah, we'll
about
talk about
puzzles.
that later. But so we have to do chores and we meet the other ranch hands and stuff. We meet Dave, who is like this like how do you do, ma'am kind of cowboy dude. Like
Yeah.
kind of the stereotypical romance novel cowboy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Like I work at a library and so I'm always shelving books and stuff, and
That
there's
have like
so
Dave's on
many.
the cover.
Yes, there's so many Daves on the covers of so many romance novels. I'm just like, this is Dave. Like, he is that stereotypical romance novel cowboy, and I
Uh-huh.
love that about him. And yeah, and then after we do our chores and stuff, we have to get permission to go writing from Tex, and Tex is kind of like this mean, rough, tough dude who's like, "Oh, which one are you?"
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't do my best Tex voice, but it just
No, that
sounds
was
like
just it
yeah,
kind of just sounded like you might have the flu.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, Tex is like super like he's always whispering
Yeah.
and stuff, and yeah, and then so we have to take a quiz from him and learn how to ride. And what I do with the quiz on how to learn how to ride, um, I usually just if I know the answer, I click the answer, and if I don't, I just guess until I get it right.
Yeah, I think that's how most people
Like
do it, is just brute
I do
force it.
not I do not go looking for the hints and stuff. I just go at it without any preparation beforehand.
Uh-huh.
I just vibe. I'm just going through it.
Yeah, I
But so
mean,
you
that's
do that.
valid.
Yeah. Yeah, it is completely valid because it's literally an easy way to win that thing without any effort. Um, do I
And now we can
remember all the answers? No, but I did get
no.
them right. So,
Oh, good.
then after that, you get to ride Bob, and he is our lovely little horse. We love him. Bob is the goat. He's the best character in this game. Everybody
We
loves Bob.
love Bob.
If you don't love
I
Bob, fight me,
I
okay?
do wish that you could pick which horse to ride, though, to be 100% honest. Wouldn't it be cool if you could, like, trade off and you could
Oh
ride a
yeah.
different horse every day?
That would be fun, but I
But
also am very emotionally attached to Bob.
that's fair.
So, like, it's the whole "Come on, Bob" that
It
Nancy
is very
does, like,
cute, yeah.
every single time, and you have to go out riding multiple times a day, and so you hear that very often. But,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I forgot. And we do have other things we need to do before we go off riding. We have to get the letter from the roll top desk, and we also can get these little key looking thingies. The things you
Mm-hmm.
stick in the little hole, the things,
The blanket chest holes.
Yes! Yes! I cannot think there
It's
I don't
okay.
know what those are called. Yeah, but
The
you
little
get those
wrenchy things.
and then you unlock that using like the clock thing and you find the letters.
The
And that's where
letters.
you find Dirk's letter to Francis, you find the pocket watch, and you find the tragic journal that always just makes me like it hurts my heart, okay?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sensitive about Beryl Humber, okay? I that whole group of characters in that historical part of the game, I am very
Mm-hmm.
attached to them and the tragedy that befell? Is that the past
Yeah.
tense of befall? Befall?
Yes,
Yeah,
befell.
that thing. Befallen?
Befell,
Sorry,
I
we're
think, is
gonna
correct.
yeah, yeah. But the whole tragedy that came upon them, that's a better phrasing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and oh, but anyway, you get the letter to take to Mary. You also find a very nasty letter there from somebody named Jane Nash, and you're like, oh, yikes, that doesn't sound very nice. But then you go riding with Bob. You say, come here. I mean, no, come on, Bob. And that's always fun. Then you take the letter to Mary. And since you always quote this part, I'll let you do the Mary Ozzy part.
Wait, what?
You said you like to quote they rejected my
Oh,
offer.
yeah, 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 yeah. She gets the letter
Yeah.
from she gets so you deliver the letter to Mary Yazzie, and she just
Yeah.
opens it in front of you, and then she's like, dramatic throwaway. And then Nancy's like, is something wrong? And Mary goes, they rejected my offer. And I just think it's great.
It's so everything in these games are so dramatic and I love
Uh-huh.
it.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah, and
then
we talk. Yeah. You keep going. You
do you
keep
want me
going.
you want me to pick it up? Okay. So
Yes.
you kind of explore around Mary Yassie's shop after you kind of get to know her, and you see a like chest in her shop that has holes that are similar to the blanket chest that we just opened, and so you realize that like, oh, cool, these fit here too, so it must be related.
Hmm.
But we don't have any information other than what we found already about the Humber family. So then you can also get information to call Charlena Purcell, the historical romance novelist that apparently is super popular. So you
We
call
only ever
Charlena.
see one of her books though.
Yeah. And then, so we call Charlene Purcell and we're like, hey, can you help us? And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so jelly of you right now. Yes, I'll help you. And we get into the chest and there's a few things that you can take, but like the important thing is like the pocket watch. And if you open it, it's like half of a note and it says like, green bottle under.
Bottle under.
Yeah. And so we're like, what does that mean? And then you just kind of like, the rest of like day one kind of feels more like exploratory. Like you're kind of just like getting your what am I trying to say? Yeah. Your bearings. You're like getting your bearings, kind of learning the area. And it's a lot of just like meeting people.
And there's also the little game thing in there, the little
the little Roadrunner
one.
You can get the little tokens from it, and then you can go. I think on day one you can go to Cougar Bend. You just can't get all of. Yeah. You can't see all the rock pictures on day one.
Yeah, because you don't have the lariat yet.
Right. So you can kind of start Dirk's first puzzle. That he leaves, the one that we had gotten from the blanket chest. So you can kind of start that puzzle. And also, if you've got eagle eyes, you may have started seeing arrowheads as you explore around the area and picking those up too. Even though we don't quite know what they're for yet, we've been, if you're like a pixel hunter, like I tend to be in Nancy Drew, especially the first time where I'm like I like scroll over every pixel on the screen to see if there's anything I can click on. Then
it's the paranoia for me. Yeah,
right. You're like, otherwise I'll be stuck in an endless loop.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's also like a little hint of the Nancy Drew klepto behavior, to where like I see anything that is not attended, I take it. Like
I put in pocket. Yeah.
Like we'll see it in a bunch of other games. Like Nancy doesn't know why it's there. Nancy doesn't know whose it is, but because it's there, she will take it.
Exactly. I think you can also go to the...
Yeah.
I think you can also go to the trail stop on day one, which at the time being, there's nothing really to see there. You can see like a grave marker. You get a couple more arrowhead. Yeah, there's
he
like
was the best mule a guy could ever have. Never
kicked me or nothing.
I love that grave.
So, and then I think you can see like the stripy rock, but you can hear that there's like a rattlesnake under it. So you're like, no,
you can. I always got so scared of that rock that the first time I played it, the first time I went to that rock, I was like, nope, I'm never going near there again. And then it came to the part where he was like, zebra rock. And I was like, no, I'm not going back there.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I think those are like
well, I have to go back there now.
Yeah. So those are like kind of the big things. I don't think there's anything else that happens like plot-wise or story-wise on day one. So you can kind of go back to the ranch. And I think it triggers the campfire, right?
The cookout, yeah.
Yeah, so the cookout scene is classic.
Musical performance.
Mm-hmm. So we hear Shorty yodel to us. You can see the pain and the cringe on Dave and Tex's faces as they try to keep down the lamb ragu that Shorty had made for dinner. And then you get one of the greatest monologues ever when Tex and Dave go to bed, and then Shorty's like, that was lamb ragu for your information, and it was great. Yeah. You see that? You see what I put up with? Day in and day out, I cast my culinary pearls before ungrateful, uncultured swine. It's like one of the best like angry monologues that the entire series has. So anyway.
Yeah, it's iconic.
And then Shorty walks off, and he's like, I'm gonna become a best-selling cookbook author or whatever he says. I don't remember. Yeah. And then he like walks off, and then the ghost horse appears, and it's running. Yes. And it's like, oh shoot, what do I do? Is it bad? Is it gonna hurt me?
2005 animation.
The blocky shoulders are running.
But hey, as a kid, that's pretty freaky.
It was scary. I was scared at 12. Yeah. And then the pump house blows up, and Nancy just stares at it Like she
Oh,
doesn't even like
about
exclaim or anything, which I think is
yeah, she
weird.
just looks at it. But she does make
Yeah.
a lot of other comments later, which I will talk about. But anyway, about the pump house exploding. Is it just me, or does the water coming from the pump house just look like hail?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it does. It's like
Like it
it's
looks
like
like
not
ice cubes
opaque
or
at all.
something. Yeah.
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 It's
And it kind of like bounces and stuff, and so
uh-huh.
it doesn't really look like water to me. It just looks like hail, and so every time I've done it, like I've been like that just it doesn't look like water. But I
Yeah.
also can't blame it for that because let me look up when it came out because I
2004.
want 2004.
Mm-hmm.
2004. 2004 animation. Yeah. I cannot blame it for that.
Yeah.
2004 was quite a time to be alive. So,
It was. It was a great year. One of my
yes, I
other
don't remember much of
favorite
it.
Pokemon game my one of my favorite Pokemon games came out that year, so it was a great year.
Ah, fine. Fun, fun, fun. But yeah, so
So you want to pick
there's
up on
that.
day 2?
Yes. So, day two. Do we talk to Bess and George or the Raleighs first?
I
I
think
think
the
we talked to
Raleighs.
Raleighs and they're like, "Oh, it blew up. Oh, wow." Stuff like that. And we also talked to Bess and George, and the reason they're not there yet, again, is because they're still having plane issues, and so yeah, that's fun. I think at this point they're fogged in. Uh, yeah, they say something like you can't see like 3 feet ahead in this fog or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're struggling, and they got so bored that George bought a book on Victorian fashion or 19th
19th
century
century.
fashion.
Yeah.
I wonder if that'll come in handy. I wonder.
Yeah, and then
But
I mean, I think like generally day 2 is mostly just like solving Dirk's puzzles like as they unveil
mhm,
themselves like one after the other.
yeah. But anyway, so we have to talk to Shorty to get our chores and everything, and then he'll give us canteen. But he also says that before the end of the day, we gotta make a cake for Tex because it's his
Birthday
birthday.
cake.
Birthday cake, which is an amazing cake, by the way.
Mhm.
It's a
Mhm.
very, very good cake. Very sweet, very wonderful. But yeah, so you can make the cake like immediately after that, or you can make it later on in the day. I will say, why don't the Raleighs have proper measuring tools
Good
for
question. I guess
cooking?
and it's like
Because
if they're
if
going to
they,
hire a cook,
yeah,
why
they
would
have a
you not
hired
have
cook.
like why would you not have like an equipped kitchen? I don't know.
Yeah, like they don't have a tablespoon. They just have teaspoons. And it's like, why? Like this, what's going on here?
How does Shorty
Like,
cook?
yeah, or at least demand proper materials to work with.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're being paid, I mean, I will say cooking is a lot different from baking, and a lot of times
Yeah.
with cooking, you kind of just eyeball it.
Mhm.
So I
Or
suppose
like keep
that
or
could
like
be a
season to taste.
reason. Yeah, but still,
But I mean, if you're
still,
going to keep like
if,
flour and sugar
if
and baking supplies in the house, you might as well keep like
yeah,
other baking
or like
tools.
a cornbread recipe, like you're
Yeah.
gonna need baking tools for that too.
True.
But yeah, and then we're like, oh, what's this stuff? And Shorty's like, oh, it's just a marzipan flour. I don't know how to put it together, but Francis had these in the thing, and so we put that, and it's a tulip, and we can paint it, and
Yeah.
it's all pretty. And yeah, so that's fun. And if we do that first, now we can go out and get the vegetables and the eggs. And is this the time where there's a snake?
Uh
Because I know one of the times there's a snake.
at the in the eggs?
Not in the eggs, in the vegetable.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's day 2.
Yeah, yeah. Because
I was so
as a
confused.
kid,
I was like, when was there a snake in the hen house?
I mean, there you can die with the chickens though.
True, true. You
But
can get
it won't
pecked
be
to
by
death.
snake bite. It will be chicken bite. But I oh yeah, little me with the snake in the vegetables area. I hated that. Yeah, but so you can pick the vegetables and stuff, and if you get unripe stuff, Shorty kills you. No, it's a second chance moment where they kick you off the ranch.
Yeah.
But I've always like imagined it as like Shorty's like, "Oh no, you picked unripe vegetables. You know
And then
what that means?" And like he pulls out a gun or something.
oh, I was gonna say he beats you to death with the green beans.
Yeah. Green beans, the unripe green beans.
Yeah, he just like he uses them as like brass knuckles and like punches you out.
Yeah. Don't ever pick unripe vegetables. Or if you, legend says if you say unripe vegetables 3 times and then turn around, Shorty will be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
terrifying, honestly.
One of the most iconic second chance options, the unripe vegetables. Then you can get the eggs and stuff, and that's all fun. And then you do that, and you get to canteen. And then you can, like, go to the pump house, and you're like, oh, what's going on over here? We can't go in, because the sheriff has said so. And so we call the sheriff, and he's like, hi, Nancy! And she's like, hey, dude. And she's like, hey, can I go into the pump house? And he's like, sure, I don't care. So he just lets Nancy, he just says, yeah,
a teenager he's never met before.
Yeah, like, he's heard about her and talked to her on the phone if you've called him before that, but he's never actually met her. And yeah, go in. Dave was really impressed by you, you know? And
yeah,
she's like,
you're like, oh,
really?
Okay.
Okay.
Debbie Ryan hair tuck.
Debbie Ryan hair tuck. Okay, I really hope you guys listening to this get that, because, you know, there's that iconic scene from the Disney Channel original movie, Radio Rebel, where she has, like, the weird smile and tucks her hair back.
It's so good. It's such a good meme.
Yeah. But, so, we get that, and then we go into the pump house, and we can see that something has corroded the pipes.
Oh, no.
Yes. And you also find a little arrowhead next to it, and if you're like me, you pick that up not knowing what to do with it later, and just keep it with you. Because, why not? You're Nancy Drew. You have a bunch of stuff in your pockets, and we don't know why it's there.
Fair enough.
But, after that, you look, and where there used to be supplies from yesterday, go in and, like, yes, but there is a hidden passageway. Also, okay, so with the passageway, it looks like there's just, like, this tiny little, like
the grate or the crawl space?
Yeah, the grate. Yeah, it looks like it's just, like, this tiny little, like, grate in the wall. Just this tiny little thing.
Uh-huh.
And so I've always imagined it as, like, Nancy just, like, going in there and just, like, crawling in.
Uh-huh. She's literally army crawling, like dragging her belly across the bottom of the grate.
Knowing Nancy, army crawling through a grate in the wall is not out of character.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like there's almost nothing that's out of character for Nancy, because she's the definition of chaos, and we will continue to dive deeper in that in the podcast. But as of now, we continue down the secret passageway, and we go up these tiny little stairs into another room, and who do we see coming out of under the stairs in the cellar?
It's everybody's favorite romance novel cover boy, Dave!
And he turns around, and he is shocked. He's like, Nancy! And she's like, what are you he's like, what are you doing there? And she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm looking for Dirk Valentine's treasure. It's so funny, because, like, he is, like, I have done, like, different, like, himbo stats for so many Nancy Drew characters. He has some of the highest himbo stats of characters. He is kind, he is hunky, and gosh darn it, he's dumb.
Dumb. He's just dumb.
Like, he no thoughts, and honestly, I love that about him.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
we love a good himbo.
Oh yeah, we love a good himbo on this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we have Dave, and he just gives Nancy his little clue. Because he's like, well, I had this little piece of paper of this
Stairs to cellar.
picture, and it's the stairs to cellar, and I thought maybe it's the stairs in the cellar. And she's like, oh, does anybody else know about the cellar? He's like, no, it's a little secret passage from the den. And also, if you go out that passageway into the den, if you want to go into the cellar through the den, you can just click on
the books, right? Yeah.
yeah, the books. This on the bookshelf to the left, on the bottom left, the second book from the left. You can just click on that and it opens it up. It's really cool. But yeah, you can go in there, and he's like, I gotta go, Nancy," and so he leaves. And after that, we can look around and we're like, "Wait, Dave, don't go," which for me is kind of like, Nancy, you have a boyfriend.
I know.
I
You can't call
yeah.
him in this game though for some reason. She doesn't even have Ned's
Yeah,
number saved in her
no,
phone.
she doesn't even mention him, I don't think, except for depends on what you mean by a steady, or like, yeah, I do have a boyfriend or something like that. Like that's it.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
doesn't get mentioned by name, I don't think.
Is it not weird that his number is not even in her phone?
Yeah, that is weird because
Weird.
That's your boyfriend, Nancy. That is your boyfriend.
That'll be another episode though.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do an entire Ned episode.
Yeah, we will.
But anyway, so she's there and he leaves. He skedaddles, and then she is looking around. And she finds acid. Gee, I wonder what the acid could have been used for. Maybe corroding pipes.
Conspiracies.
Who knows?
Who knows?
And then she also finds this 19th century little coin purse.
Whoa, that's really
Gee,
convenient considering that George just bought a whole book on that stuff. Whoa!
Coincidence. So then we can go out, and if we did all our chores, we can go to Tex and be like, hey, can we go riding? And he's like, nope. Oh, my voice cracked.
That's okay.
But he's like, nope. You gotta feed the animals. If you mess up, it could be fatal. Also, if you do mess up with the horse feed, when you turn around after feeding the horses, the horse that you fed will like scream and then fall over. Like you can't see it happen, but like you turn around and hear like this painful scream neigh of a horse and then a huge thunk on the ground. And it's so sad, and I hate hurting the horses.
Yeah.
But this last time I played, I wanted to get almost every second chance scene, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna kill a horse today. I don't want to, and so I did it, and I was like, I feel so bad for the horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could also feed the chickens. So you feed the horses, then you feed the chickens, and I did not kill the chickens because I did not have the heart. I did not have the heart.
You're only a single murderer. You're
Yeah,
not a serial killer.
Yeah, and since we have the second chance, I am no longer a murderer because we went back in time. I'm so sorry, horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so then after that, you can go riding, and and I think, what goes on from there? You
So a lot of it is like you can get the lariat this time.
Wait. I forgot. You have the green bottle under stairs. Nancy goes back into the cell or back into the passageway, and I wonder if these little stairs are the ones that were mentioned. So you go there, you play this really, 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 really easy puzzle. Like you move like 3 blocks and you're good. And I love it. But then you get this little green bottle.
Yeah.
The green bottle under the stairs to cellar. So you open it up, and Dirk doesn't he mention like the jail cell or something? Well, he mentions a lot of things. He says stuff about like, you are so beautiful when you're thinking and when you're playing the piano, and I'm just like, romance is dead.
Yeah, true.
Dirk Valentine. Yes. Anyway, so then you can ask around like, oh, where's Dry Creek? And you can ask Dave, and he's like, oh, it's about an hour and a half drive, not drive, ride over from here. Then you can go there, and it's super freaky, and I love it. And like, I don't believe in haunted houses and stuff. I don't believe in ghosts or anything, but that place is for sure haunted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel
Yeah.
you.
But anyway, so you go there and you're like, wow, it's super spooky, and you go to the saloon, and you're like, oh, well, first you go to the jail cell, and everything's locked, so you can't get it. Oh, rats. We can't look at it. Oh well, guess we're never gonna look at the jail cell because we're never gonna get in there. Wait until day 3. So then we go to the saloon, and there's a lock on the door, and we have to call the sheriff. And because I'm lazy and I don't want to go all the way back to Mary's gift, I do the little hack where you press on the web thing,
Uh huh.
the
And then
web
you can
button,
call.
and then you press on the contacts, and then you can call whoever you want. Because otherwise, you have no service. But if the little hack, this little trick, it is fine. And then he gives, then the sheriff gives Nancy the combination again, giving information and letting this teenage girl he's never met do whatever she wants.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I love Nancy, and you know what? Hats off to Sheriff Fernandez. Like,
He's like
he
got to be
doesn't
the most
care.
chill sheriff that I've ever like
Yeah, he
encountered
doesn't.
ever.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He's just like, yeah, yeah, sure, Nancy, you go have fun with that. So she goes inside. She's like, wow, it's an old saloon, and like, there's this little piano in there, and there are modern books inside, an electrician's manual. And it's got it's like super dusty and everything. So Nancy like drags her gloves over it, and she's like, wow, that is like super dusty. And then she's like, wow, electricity mandel. I wonder why that's here. And then she sees this like this really old can of crackers and stuff. I don't know if there's crackers inside or not. We can never tell. But I really hope they're not crackers inside. Um, those would be dusty crackers.
Yeah,
Then you can look into the other corner of the room, and there's a sleeping bag and like other stuff.
like a
So
thermos and a toothbrush and stuff.
yeah, somebody has been living here, and that makes me very uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then
Um,
like I feel like as soon as you see that, it feels like somebody's watching you. Like you get this weird sense of
I
like you said, it's like unease. It's like, oh, I may not
yeah,
be
like
alone right now.
yeah, somebody like in this part of the game, like it definitely feels like somebody is watching you. Like that, it's freaky.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it. It's a fun kind of freaky. So then you do that, and then you'd have fun with that. And what's the next part?
So
Oh
and
yeah,
then
and now since you have the lariat
yeah,
and everything, because you did the bear racing and you roped the saddle horse thingy. I think that's what it's called. I don't know, but that you do the thing and you get the lariat, and then you can go to Cougar Bend again, and you can get up there and get the rest of the little petroglyphs, and
yeah, and then and
then you put
I
them on the map, and it's
that
beneath Cappy's keys. Pappy's name, please.
yeah, which leads you back to the saloon at Dry Creek, and you have to get
Yep,
the name
and
of Valentine's father, which you can get
with
from
from
Charlena.
Charlena.
So
Yeah,
it's a
and
lot of
so.
like using all the resources that you've gathered, and now it's like I feel like
Mhm.
this is the part of the game that has like the best momentum, because you
Yes,
already have like all the
they're
tools
really
you need.
picking
It's
up.
just like it's like now you're just piecing things together and like solving puzzles and moving on
Hmm.
to the next thing and solving a puzzle and moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, and so you do that, and you get that clue, and I forgot what that. I, a lot of the clues in this game kind of run together for me, especially in this part, because it's like, the pace is picking up. But anyway, you get clue from there. It says, I don't remember what it says. Oh, didn't it say something about, like, take your forks down to Beady Eyed Ranch and something like that and get your cranks and stuff? And you're like, oh, wonder what that is. And so you go to the place that says Beady Eyes Ranch, which is you can do research on Nancy's phone on how to like figure out how to do the little ranch signs that are everywhere, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like the cattle
The
branding thing.
brands, yeah.
Dirk, why are you hiding something under the jailhouse? Um, but yeah, you can do that. You can go and you grab that thing. It's just a little music box looking thing. And it has some letters on it that are coincidentally letters in the name Francis, but without certain letters, like F-A-C-E. And you're like, huh, I wonder what that could mean. Then he also says something about forks, and then you go to Mary's gift, and you're like, gasp, the tuning forks. And so you ask Mary, hey, could I have the tuning fork? And she's like, sure, just gather some arrowheads for me. And
And if
so,
you've been gathering them already, this is an easy puzzle.
oh yeah, if you've been gathering them already, it's really easy. Point is the one that Scorpion was protecting in Dry Creek. And so you just do that, you get that, and then you go back to her, and she's like, ha, I only need 9. Here, keep this one. You don't ever use that
Yeah,
arrowhead. It's just
I
in your
literally hate that.
inventory.
I always thought,
Like,
like,
there's
oh my gosh, this is gonna have a use, and it never does.
no, just like the flood warnings in this game. Um,
True.
yeah, but so we have that, and now we have the tuning forks, and so we put them in the thing, and we put the thing on the little indentation on the counter in Saloon. We put the forks in it, and then there's like this little lamp thing in Drag Creek or something. I don't know what it is, but it has a crank on it, and so you can just steal the crank because you're Nancy Drew. Then you put the crank on thing, you turn it, and it makes a really terrible sound that I hate. And then it breaks a glass, like, lamp thing on the wall. And there's a note in it, and so you do that. And I don't, yeah, isn't that yeah, it says go to Zebra Rock, and you'll need a magnet for this thing. And you're like, huh, that's really cool. And so then you have to go back, and back at Shadow Ranch, Dave has tasked us with patching up the chicken wire in the chicken, and he asked us earlier today to help him fix that, and so we're like, okay, we'll do that. Whenever we get back, whenever the stuff is shipped over, and so we go do that, and so we put together the chicken wire in the dead of night, and what happens?
The ghost horse comes back!
The ghost horse comes back, and Nancy notices that her gloves that she used to wipe off the dust from the electrical book manual thing, those gloves are glowing from the dust.
Wow! What a coinky
And
dink!
what a coinky dink! I bet that's not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. And then the power line like blows up, and that's fun. And Nancy's like, oh no. And so it's the next day now. Day 3! And Bess and George are on the phone with Nancy, and they're like, what? Oh, this stuff has happened? And Nancy's like, yeah, it's awful. And she's like, but I think I'm getting close to the mystery. Oh, yeah, and I forgot, you can also call the Hardy Boys in this game, but they don't say, they're not like super influential. Like, you could go the entire game without talking to the Hardy Boys, but I do love them. But
Oh, yeah.
anyway,
Hardys
I
are
completely
great.
forgot about the Hardy Boys. I love them though. I also love Joe constantly saying, "Watch out for varmints." I love him. Um, but anyway, so we talk to that, and then we talk to Shorty, and Shorty's like, "I'm tired of this, Grandpa." Um, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but he's like, if the generator goes out, I'll be cooking in the dark, and then I'll leave because I hate it here, and it's scary, and I don't like the ghost horse. And Nancy's like, oh, that's so sad. He's like, can you get vegetables for me? And Nancy does her chores and everything. Yeah. And this is the last time we do the vegetables, so we just pick everything that's on the vines, and it is fine. And just fine and dandy, because nothing is unripe anymore. Everything's ripe, and so you don't have to worry about Shorty killing you for unripe vegetables, which is very nice, I'd like to
Yeah.
have that security. And you can talk to Dave, and Dave has actually been letting us look at this letter that his Aunt Ellie, who's cousins with Francis Humber gave him. And so Nancy comes and looks at that every once in a while, and then, there's all these things in it that talk about Francis and stuff. And you can see one of her flowers on her favorites with the stationery. And because there's this one thing with Dirk where he's like, look for your favorite flowers and the flowers on your favorite, which is very important, lady. But yeah, so he gives her that letter, and Nancy looks at it, and she's like, cool. Then there's another part where so they're where did you get that note from Dirk? There's so many notes from Dirk.
That at some point when you go back to Dry Creek on day 3, you end up getting knocked out, and you end up in the jail cell. So you have to kind of break your way out of there. So it's like you're stuck in this jail cell with nothing but your items. Which, aren't you glad that the person who shoved you in here didn't steal everything from you? Like a typical kidnapper would. But you wake up and you have all of your things, so it's like you have to use your lariat to like pull this chair up, and then you're throwing bricks. You just throw bricks.
I literally at this part. So Nancy says, "These old bricks must be good for something," and that instantly when she said that, I said, "Yeah, throwing."
Exactly. So you're throwing bricks at this, and you throw a brick, and it lands on the chair. And then you pull the chair to you, and then you can get out.
You pull the chair up, and then you throw the brick at the key. The key knocks down, and then you can pull the chair towards you. But first, we have to solve the jail cell puzzle that he left in there. Also, why did he leave a puzzle in the jail cell for Francis?
Did he expect Francis to get, like, locked up in jail?
I mean, her dad is a sheriff, so I guess he could let her in or something. But, like, it's still a weird place.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he probably was in there at a few points. But anyway, so you look at that, and when you're solving that puzzle, it's so funny to me, because Nancy keeps going like, wow, I'm so good at this! Keep going! Almost there! That looks right!
Yes! And you're like,
it's
okay,
every
all
other
right.
letter. Like, Nancy, shut up!
Like, I love the self-confidence, but honey, please.
Yeah. She does that a lot in the games, where she'll be like, I'm so good at this! Yay, me! And it's just like, imagine other characters being around her as she's saying these things. Like, they'd be giving her a serious side-eye. Yeah, so she does that, and it's a fun experience. Then get out of jail, and Nancy's like, yay, I'm out of jail! This will not be the first time she says something like that. Not in this game, but in a later game. But anyway, so we are like, wow, that's cool. And then we go to the bank lamp, and it's like, take the ring from your cousin Ellie and use it on the fun hate game thing. And Nancy's like, Dave. And so she goes back and she asks Dave, do you happen to have a ring from your cousin Ellie? I don't know why he's carrying that ring, but I mean,
think he says that, like, he knew that there was a connection to Shadow Ranch, and so he carried it with him, wondering if he'd ever figure out, like, if it meant anything. I think that's what he says, is something along those lines.
He's got one brain cell, and that's what he used it for.
Yeah, was carrying the ring around.
Yeah. So Nancy uses that on the little arcade game, in from the Roadrunner game, and you put that in there, and it's like, twing, and then it does this game where before you had to make the meanest, roughest, toughest gang in the Wild West, and the next one is the nicest, most pleasant characters for a wonderful new game. And actually, usually what I do is I will save the game as soon as I put in the coin. So I can just
reload if you get if you get it.
There's no way I would be playing that Roadrunner game more than once.
The thing, the Roadrunner game. Okay, we'll talk about this a little bit later, because I know we were going to talk about puzzles and music. But one thing I hate about that Roadrunner game is that the music gets so old so fast, and with every level, it literally is just like a faster version of the previous level.
I am not a hater of the banjo.
Me
I am
either.
not. I enjoy a good bit of bluegrass every now and then. However, I make an exception for the Roadrunner game. But anyway, so I usually do the whole like save then go back thing so I don't have to experience that again. But this time I got it all on the first try. Like I pulled the lever and everybody was the nicest people in the Wild West. And I was like, this has never happened to me. And yeah, so that
Yeah.
felt very fun. That was just a moment of, you know, I'm so happy. Um yeah, so we get that and then we get this weird looking key thing and that's fun. But then you can go to Shadow. But if you didn't do this already, you go to Shadow Ranch. You get a magnet. And there is how wonderful. So you go to Zebra Rock. You lift it up. There's a weird maze thing, and there are all these on it. So it's really hard. But not if you exit out and 5 times, and then and that's just what I do because
Yeah. Oh,
I do
I
not.
always do the hack.
Yeah, yeah. I do not have the mental fortitude to do that game without that little puzzle without freaking out. Because like you always have like metal piece dropped, metal piece picked up, metal piece dropped, and you have little lunks with it, and I'm just like, no.
It's like with every pick up and drop, my sanity just falls farther and farther.
Yeah, no, that yeah, it's crazy. But then you get it on that little thing, you just press them and make it flowers, whatever. Um, and then it opens up, and there's a little music box. And then you put the little key you got from the arcade game in the music box, and there's a little round stone that's super scratched up. And he's like, "This is an agate, and it had the place where he met. So just go to Charlie's grave and look at this thing, and then go in that random direction." And Nancy's like, "Oh, I wonder who could help you do this." Oh, I forgot about the bee. Before this, to find out one of her favorite flowers, we have to put together the bead stuff, which is where it comes in handy that George, for absolutely no reason, bought a book on 19th
No, no, no,
century
no, no.
fashion.
No, no. There was a reason.
No?
It's
Oh?
called plot convenience.
Yes. Very convenient.
That's all. That's all,
Then,
though.
but yeah, and before that, you go to Mary and you're like, "Hey, do you have can you set up this ring display for me?" That is my favorite puzzle in the game.
Oh, okay.
But I love the ring display puzzle. It's very fun and calming for me for some. But anyway,
It's
so we have
organizational,
that.
so I get that.
It, it is. But so we have that, and we do that, and then Mary's like, "Here you go." So we do that, and then we. Oh, I forgot another fun thing. I was so caught up in the mystery that I forgot about the romance.
The
Um,
romance.
the romance. And at this part, so in this part of the game, we have been writing a lot, and every once in a while, when writing to Shadow Ranch, back see Mary. Like, what is Mary Ozzy doing on the Raleigh's property? And then we see Mary and Tex. Like, why are they
Ooh.
talking? And then you can talk to Tex, and he'll be like, "You didn't see nothing. I was never out there with her. I don't know. I blah, 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 blah." And he does all that stuff. And then you talk to Barry, and you're like, kind of told me about you too. And she's like, "Oh, well, I guess the secret's out now. We're in love." And then she's like, "You're what?"
Yeah. Nancy's reaction is genuinely the funniest thing.
Yeah, and then Mary's like, "Oh, I see what you did, you little liar."
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, okay, okay, you
And
played
then
me.
she
You
says
played me good."
another
My
great line.
favorite quote.
It's just like, "For a city slicker, you sure got a lot of country smarts." And
I
I'm like, what
love
does
that.
that even mean?
I I don't know, but there is. It also has one of my favorite um lines in it where Nancy's like, "How did you get past his rough, tough exterior?" And she's like, "I didn't. He got past mine."
Yeah.
My heart. Oh,
I
they're
love
so
it.
cute.
They're so
They're one of
cute.
the cutest in the games. They're just so adorable. But anyway, so we have the new picture agate now, and we're like, "Huh, that looks like one of the trees at the trail stop." And so we can go now to Charlie's grave of the wonderful mule who never kicked me or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, honestly, I do. I kind of appreciate Charlie the mule. Like, I've never met him because he's dead.
Right.
Yeah, definitely for 100 years. But I love him anyway. I love that little mule.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm sure he was really
was
cute.
was Charlie? Yes. Never kicked me or nothing. But yeah,
Yeah.
so you go there and you look around. You're like, haha. Let us go straight towards the tree. And so you go off to this mystery location. And and you find these cliff dwellings, so use your handy dandy lariat to get up there. And then you find this key on the wall of how to like go through the mazes, but everything's encoded. And back when we got out of the jail cell, there was a little piece of paper on the floor that has like, hey, this well to a secret group of people that we don't know yet. Um but anyway, so we obviously took that off the jail cell floor, and now we're in here, and we're like, aha, let us figure out what this says. And so it's a very nice little map, takes you through the place, but you do have to go through the maze and find all these little key things afterwards, and you find these little weird shaped keys in all these little pots hidden around the area. You also realize if you are a weird clicky person and you go just clicking everything that you could take off the rocks from the doors and you can get very lost.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um but anyway, Nancy's like, "Huh, I should not do that because I will die in here." And so she doesn't do that. And then looking around and when we were looking in the pots, we find this one piece, that isn't floor, it's wood, and there's a hole in it. That wouldn't be fun to fall down. But then she goes up there, she puts the keys in the door, and after we put the keys in the door, we open the door to this little treasure cavern, and we see Francis written in gold, and we have little gold hearts everywhere,
The
and
little
we have
gold
like,
hearts.
oh,
You're
perfect, like
you were so right earlier. Romance is dead.
romance is dead. If
Where's
no
my room
man
of gold
wants
hearts?
to exactly, if a man is not getting you solid gold hearts, he is not the one. If he is not setting up a little treasure hunt for gold hearts, he is not the one.
I mean,
Ah,
I wouldn't recommend like
stealing,
dating
but like
like dating somebody who is like on the run from the law or nothing. But as far as like the romance part goes, he was pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, he is the romantic, like yeah. But anyway, you go there and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the most romantic treasure ever. And then you go back out and it's a cutscene. And you know what that means.
That means culprit reveal.
That means culprit. And so we look down and it's none other than Shorty. And you know what I want to say about Shorty?
What do you want to say about Shorty? Go ahead. I know you want to say it. You just go ahead.
Shorty had them apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur.
With the fur.
The whole ranch was looking at him. He wanted the gold, so he
Gold?
followed Nancy. And, well, he did not get the gold, gold, gold. That was really stupid, but hello, this is going to be a stupid podcast. We're going to have fun here. But anyway, so Shoddy with them apple bottom jeans
He's
finds
coming.
Nancy.
He's coming after you.
He's coming after you, and he's like, hello, Nancy. We were looking for the treasure and stuff, but what I should have been doing was follow you, and that's what I just did. I was following you, Nancy. And she's like, oh no. And he's like being really creepy about this, like, I'm coming for you, Nancy. I got
I'm walking
one door
through
left.
another door.
I'm walking
Nancy.
through another door.
You're like, oh, okay.
And I purposefully did not do the end game thing because I wanted to get caught by Shorty. It's so funny. He does the whole like,
Here's Shorty.
yeah, he
That also
yeah,
scared me at 12 years old. I'm not gonna lie.
oh yeah, it's a reference from The Shining, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like
Here's
amazing
Johnny.
horror movie. Yeah, an amazing horror movie reference, but also a hilarious second chance cutscene because growing up, it's funny. As a kid, it's scary, but growing up, it's just funny because here's Shorty. Ah, I don't know why that's so funny, but there are a lot of funny things in these games that shouldn't be funny, but are. But anyway, so if you do not want to get caught by Shorty, you go down, you switch two of the things. You switch the rock that goes up to the treasure and the rock that leads to the hole in the floor. And so you switch those two, and then you hide, and Shorty's like, I just got one door left. I'm coming for you, Nancy. And then he falls down. He's like, what? And then Nancy looks down at him, and he's like, gosh darn you, Nancy Drew. And
Yeah.
then the game is over. We solved the mystery. We caught
Yay,
the
we did
culprit.
it. We
Because
found the goal.
he had, yeah, and because he had run off Bob. Poor Bob. I hope Bob's okay.
I'm sure Bob's okay. He probably knows his
I,
way back, to be
yeah, he
honest.
probably does. I really hope he's okay because I love Bob. But anyway, she has to ride back on the trick horse that they using, and that horse happens to be still glowing. And by the time she gets back to the ranch, it is night. And so everybody's like, "There's a glowing horse." And of course, this means that there isn't yet another picture where we not see Nancy. But yeah, and so she writes to. Is it Bess and George that she writes it to, or does she write it to Hannah?
I can't remember. I think it's
I think
Hannah
it's
because
Hannah.
Bess
Yeah, I
and
think it's
George
Hannah.
end up
Yeah,
joining her later.
yeah. And so she writes the letter to Hannah, and she's like, "Yeah, you can't see me because I'm on the glowing horse." And Dave and Tex are laughing at me, and so that's fun. Then you get my favorite part in it is when Mary and Tex tell the Raleighs about each other, and he's blushing, and
Uh
it's
huh.
so cute.
It's
Ah,
so cute.
like they're the cutest. They're adorable, adorable couple. And then you get this wonderful picture of Nancy, Bess, and George, where it does not look at all like three teenage girls in the photo, even though you
No.
can't see their faces because Dave's finger is over the camera, which of course it is.
Himbo.
Of course, yeah, himbo. No thoughts, just vibes. Just country vibes, little
Yeah,
cowboy
yeah.
vibes. He's having a rootin' tootin' time. But yeah,
Yeehaw.
and then yeehaw, and they're trying to figure out if the stuff. But anyway, that is the whole mystery, and it's a whale of a time, or not a whale of a time, but is there a cowboy version of that?
Uh,
Rootin' tootin' time.
yeah, that was a rootin' tootin'
Rootin'
time.
tootin'.
And
Yeah.
that,
So yeah, that is the plot of the game, and I think it's just yeah, the plot is just it's so good. It's fun. Maybe that's because I'm extremely biased towards nostalgia in my childhood, but it's a really game with great characters. Speaking of characters, shall we move
yeah.
on to characters?
So for
The
characters,
characters.
okay, so we'll talk about characters for a little while. So,
Mm-hmm.
we have four like face characters, and then the rest of our
Mm-hmm.
characters are all like phone characters. So we have at the
Or
ranch
history
or
characters.
history characters, yeah. And then so we have at the ranch we have Shorty, Dave, and Tex, and then Mary, who is typically over at her shop, but like you said, we see her often. And then like phone characters, you have Bess and George, the Hardys, Sheriff Hernandez, and Charlena. And
And
then
Charlena's assistant.
and Charlena's, and you can also call um the
Yeah,
survey
the
people and talk to the
yeah.
guy about the maps
Yeah.
that you find in Shorty stuff. So you can also talk to them at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course you have like the historical characters, Dirk, Francis, and Meryl, and then there's like a few other characters that are named like the Abigail
Cousin
and
Ellie.
Eldridge Humber, and yeah, cousin
Yeah.
Ellie, and like a few other characters. I think the characters in this game are fantastic, and I think they all have very distinct personalities, and I think they all serve different purposes in the game, and I think that's what makes the
Yes.
best kind of game is that you don't have to like you don't seek all of your like advice from one character or get all your comic relief from a character. I like it when like characters sort of like split the burdens and then they all come
Mhm.
into
Mhm.
play at like different parts of the story so that
Yeah.
it's not like it's not like after the first meeting this character becomes like useless or defunct. Like I like that the characters continue to serve purposes throughout the whole time. I like that you have like the the difference of characteristics and personalities are also really appealing too. Like you have Shorty who basically admits to you the first time you meet him that like he loves to gossip and he wants to
Oh
get the
yeah.
tea every time you walk through the
Yes.
kitchen. And so you don't really know like what to think about that. Like that's not typically how you as a suspect would like introduce yourself. So it's like kind of an unusual first meeting. And then you have
Mhm.
characters like Tex who are like, I would prefer you never speak to me or look at me or even be here. But, you know, I guess if you have to be, like, you're going to listen to what I have to say and, like,
Yeah.
do what I ask you to do. And then you have characters like Dave. And, you know, I know that, like, he's a fan favorite character for a lot of people who grew up with the series. I was
Mhm.
never a big Dave girl. The girl who got me
Yeah.
back into Nancy Drew was a big Dave
Yeah.
girl. So like I know that like you Dave stands are out there and that's fine. Like he's a fine character.
Yeah. We
Um
salute you, Dave Stans. But for
yes.
me, I'm more of a Tex stan. Like, I love me the little trope of guys like I'm all tough and mean and scary, but I really like my animals and I just
Yeah.
want them to be happy and
Yeah,
I'm
like
not actually mean. Like,
he's not actually a bad man. He's just like I'm here to do my job and like not entertain a teenager, which
yeah.
honestly valid. Like I've been in that position and like, you know,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't want to have to like my job be
Ugh.
interrupted for me to do something that's not in my job description. So like I get it. And then of course you have
Yeah.
Mary who's like she feels a little bit like less, I guess, invested or biased in a lot of what's happening
Mhm.
because she's not on the ranch with you. So
Yeah.
she gives you like perspectives that kind of feel a little more like detached and you
Mhm.
know it's kind of interesting to see her perspective as somebody who doesn't work on the ranch but still has an opinion about like the Raleighs and things that are going on, and also
Yeah.
knows the area really well and obviously has a deep connection to the area because of her personal like family history, which I think is really
Mhm.
interesting. And I like that they included a Native American character because it makes sense in that area that there would be
Oh yeah,
those
absolutely.
communities. So I like that that's included. Um, and then, of course, like the character of Charlena Purcell is a really interesting one. It's nice to have characters that are like an expert in knowledge. And I think I've heard somebody say before that like Charlena is a character that is simply created for plot convenience. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. However, I
Mhm.
do think that it even if that is the purpose of her character, I think she serves it really well. It's voice acted really well, and it makes sense because when you play a Nancy Drew game, everything that you need to beat the game is self-contained within that game. It's not like you need to
Mhm.
have prior knowledge of anything before coming into a Nancy Drew game in order to play and complete it. And of course there's like help online, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not created in such a way, like the games are not created in such a way that you need to have like you need to study something before you come in to play the game.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's why characters like Charlena have to exist at sometimes because it's like,
Mhm.
okay, how are we going to make it so that Nancy has all of the resources that she needs in order to solve a mystery that involves historical events. It's like, well, okay, well then we'll make somebody who is an expert in that history. So I don't think that's a bad thing, although I've noticed that some fans seem to think it is, but I'm just not of that opinion. So I think Charlena
Yeah.
was a fine character and served that purpose really well. Not to mention and we talked about a lot of this in the plot summary too, but like the dialogue in this game
I
is
love
so
it.
good. It's so
I
good
love
and
it.
it's funny when it needs to be and it's serious when it needs to be and it's emotional when it needs to be.
And you
You
can
know.
really you can with the way a lot of the characters talk, you can really like pick apart like how they are as people and everything. Like Dave always calls ma'am, like yes
Right.
ma'am. And with the way Tex talks and everything, how everything he says is very concise and like with Shorty, how he always has like huge inflections with everything, and that really like portrays to like that he's worth like an over the top kind of character. And even though like the historical characters, like I will say Dirk and Meryl, Dirk Valentine and Meryl Humber, those two voice actors,
They're fantastic.
they went off. They went
Yeah.
off.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, do you have any other character notes? I think that's pretty much all I had. So.
Charlena sounds extremely pretentious,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that about her. Like, as a person, I probably would not like her, especially when we meet her later on. But I also want to mention just the the assistant, like Charlena Purcell's office.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she wanted me to put you right through. She didn't want to hear the message or nothing. And like, I love that guy because he definitely sounds like he is a teenage minimum wage intern.
Uh-huh. And he's like
And
running
I
on
love it.
caffeine and like a
Yeah.
box of nerds.
Yes. A box of nerds.
Yeah, like, or like
Yes.
those like nerds gummy clusters. Those are good though. But
Oh
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Those little
Like
ones.
he's
Yeah,
got one
yeah,
of
yeah,
those on
yeah.
his desk.
Yeah, and like Monster energy drinks and stuff. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, he's being paid to do this.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, now let us get to the music, which I will
Oh,
say the music is so good.
so good. Kevin
Like
Manthe is a genius. Um
Kevin Manthe, more like Kevin Manslay.
yeah, what you said. um
Anyway,
yeah,
Kevin,
no,
we love
the
you.
music. Yeah, we love you, Kevin. Um, so
Yeah, the music,
so
so good.
immersive, so immersive,
Extremely
so
immersive.
yeah. Like when you hear like the opening notes to like ballad, it's just like for me, it transports
Hmm.
me immediately. And I'm suddenly like 12 years old again, and I'm making a cake for Tex, and like just having a good old
Yeah.
time, and like feeling all cozy in the ranch house, and wishing that I was staying at Shadow Ranch, and like just something about the music in this game and the way that it's balanced. Like you have like
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
lighthearted tracks, and then you have a lot of the sort of like
Like you have like
scarier, tense tracks. Yeah,
Land, and then you also have Dirk, which is one of my favorite tracks in the game's
yeah.
period. Because it's
Mm-hmm.
just like it's that little guitar and everything. It's just so simple and yet so perfect. Very cowboy, very Wild West.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just...
Yeah,
Oh,
everything about
also
the tracks.
Drive.
Oh, of course,
Drive is also
Drive.
a really fun one. That
Of
is like the
course.
ultimate Western part of it. It's just it feels like one of those long shots from a Western, an old Western movie where they're
Uh-huh.
just filming. There's that little thing where the camera pans across the dudes riding across the desert
And you see
and
like
stuff.
the smoke clouds from like the horses' hooves as they're like galloping
Yeah,
off, and yeah, so it's just like
the whole thing with
everything
Monument
about
Valley and everything. Yeah.
yeah, everything about like the instruments that Kevin chose to like put together, and even just like
Yeah,
the
it's
compositions and feels, like everything just feels so like natural to the environment and to
mhm,
the
mhm.
like part of the story that you're in. And it's all just like layered in. And like one thing I love about Nancy Drew music in general, this pretty much applies to all the games, is that like I love Nancy Drew music because it is noticeable, but it is never distracting from whatever you may be doing in the game.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's why I think it's so brilliant, is because like, and that's why I continue to listen to it in my like day-to-day life. Like if I'm
Oh
doing
yeah.
chores at home, or like I'm working on something and I don't want silence, but I don't want to be like distracted by something, I put on Nancy Drew music because it
Hmm.
just like
Yeah.
fills the space, and it makes it feel like fuller, without feeling like my brain is having to like work too hard to listen to the music.
Hmm. Yeah, but yeah, the music in this game is just it fits yeah, perfectly. It fits perfectly together with the whole game and the whole environment and the setting. And it just, it just meshes together.
So good.
Uh, so next on the list we talk about is puzzles.
Well, I know that
And
you have such a favorite. Do you want to talk about that?
yes, The ring organizing puzzle! It is
Uh-huh.
so good. Like, I don't know. See, I like organizing things. I really like organizing things. That's literally my job. I just organize things. And so when I have this puzzle, it's like, oh, my little, there's a little tingle in my brain. I can do my little organizing with all the little symbols and the colors and the little equal, neat little places. It's just so much fun.
It is. I like that puzzle a lot too. I think generally this game has really good puzzles. There are a few
Mm-hmm.
puzzles that I don't care for as much.
Metal piece dropped.
Exactly.
Metal piece picked up.
I think the metal moving one is definitely one of the
Yeah.
ones that I don't care for. And also,
Mm-hmm.
I know that we may have differing opinions on this, but I
Oh,
do not mind the vegetables at all. I never have trouble with the vegetables. I know why people do. I never
I
have trouble with the
usually don't. Yeah.
vegetables because I will just go to like the web page in Nancy's phone and like whatever the middle
Yeah.
like picture is the right picture, so I just use
Yeah.
that and then I'm good. But like I do understand why it's hard for some people though, because sometimes like
It's
what
the
you're
ivory egg.
seeing, yeah, what you're seeing doesn't look
Mm-hmm.
like, it's so hard to distinguish like ripe and unripe,
Mm-hmm.
just because of like the pixelation or the coloring or whatever, so I understand why
Yeah.
it's difficult.
The
But I don't
red
hate,
tomatoes.
yeah, I don't
Yeah, the
hate
red
the
tomatoes.
veggies.
Yeah, the red tomatoes are super easy, but
Hmm.
it's always the ivory eggs for me because those ones like it's barely a color
It's
change with those
barely,
ones,
yeah, it is
and so
really
it
difficult.
drives me nuts. But other
Like,
than that, the vegetables isn't too bad unless
mm-hmm,
you keep getting unripe stuff and you're
mm-hmm.
like, what am I picking? And it's usually the ivory eggs.
And then, like, I do want to talk about the Roadrunner puzzle for a second. So, with
Yeah.
the Roadrunner puzzle, the puzzle itself is fine. It's like a typical, like, get the thing from one place to another without getting caught by
Yeah.
the whatever. So, like, it's a puzzle that like we understand. It's like a very easy to understand puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
However, I always feel like I have to speed run it, and it's
Because of the
because
music.
that banjo music, and again, I know we literally just sang the praises of the music, and it's, I don't want to say that the song is not fitting for the game, because it is fitting for the game,
Very
but
fitting. It's just
it,
annoying.
yeah, it's just annoying, and it gets grating after like 30
Hmm.
seconds and you're like,
And
okay, I'm done.
also, also the Roadrunner sound as it goes into the hole, the little yeah, that thing is just like
Yeah,
not a sound
so
that I like.
yeah,
But other than that, it's a
yeah,
fun
I like,
puzzle.
yeah, and I like most of the puzzles. I like doing like the purse rebeating. I like doing that.
Yeah, that's
I
fun. That's
I
fun.
like the little puzzle like in the cellar passageway where you have to move the little blocks over to unveil the green bottle. Like I like that kind of
Yeah.
puzzle. I like the like petroglyph puzzle where you're like placing the
Oh,
petroglyphs on
yeah,
the
that
map
one's
where they exist
really
in the real
fun.
world. And I even like the final puzzle, like using the key and the coding to like figure out the map through the cliff dwellings all the way
Hmm.
through to the end. Like I think that's really clever, and so I really have not many critiques other than what I've already noted, like talked about for puzzles. I think the puzzles are like challenging enough that they're not boring, but they're not so difficult, with the exception of maybe the metal puzzle if you don't know about the hack, that are,
Yeah.
other than that, like I there aren't many puzzles that could be like frustrating, I think.
Well, the arcade game in Dry Creek. That one can get really frustrating if you never get it right.
But not
It's
necessarily because it's hard, mostly just because it's all like
it's a game of
luck.
chance. It's a
Yeah,
game of chance, game of luck, and so yeah, just do the quick save thing. Not the quick save.
definitely.
Oh my gosh, this is not a quick save game. This is a
But just like
save.
a save and
Then
load,
yeah,
yeah.
save
So
and
yeah,
load, save and load. That thing.
unless you want to
Yeah,
go play the Rooster game, or Rooster game, the Roadrunner game like
the
70
Rotor game.
times. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember before I figured out that I could save and load it, I would go back and do the Roadrunner game a million times.
Oh
And
yeah.
I would get so annoyed and a little bit angry too.
Oh
It's like,
really?
yeah, I was a 12-year-old girl, or like 10
Okay,
to 12
fair.
years old at the time. I was full of rage. A Name a 12-year-old girl who isn't angry all the time. I'll wait. I will wait. But
We all have a
yeah,
little
so
untapped rage.
yeah, oh yeah, especially when you're 12.
Exactly. You don't know how
But
to cope with emotions like that.
absolutely not. But anyway, so the next thing that we go towards is atmosphere and setting, which I
Oh
think
man.
is phenomenal for this game.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Just
Just the ranch house alone. I mean, aside from the fact that there's no bedrooms in this place.
bathroom.
Yeah, like no.
The
Okay.
only bathroom we get is the outhouse at Dry Creek.
So I was gonna say, like, here's a little fun behind the scenes for you guys that are listening. But Ray the other day said to me, my headcanon is that nobody pees at Shadow Ranch. So that's the headcanon, is that nobody
That's
pees.
the
And I was like,
headcanon. That is the theory.
so I was like, nah, probably like I feel like all of the like especially the guys that are outside, Tex and Dave, they're probably just like going into the barn or whatever. But
That's what my grandpa would do. He would just off into
yeah, but like Nancy, I don't know. I don't know where she's sleeping. Like I'm still confused about that. But other than that, I
yeah.
think the ranch house is so cozy and
It's
just
very
like
nice.
yeah, and I think that just the immersion is really nice and a lot of that does have to do with like the music and also like
hmm
I think
Sound design too.
I almost feel like the atmosphere gets better after your first playthrough because you kind of already know
hmm
what to expect and so there's less tension I guess because you've already kind of lived through it. So I think it feels like homier or cozier like on a replay personally.
Yeah, I just love the whole environment and everything. It feels very authentic
Hmm.
because you get like you have the music. The background music is doing amazing stuff for the game itself. But then you also get like the sound design, you get like the wind, you get the cows, you get the horses, you get the chickens.
Hmm.
You get all this wonderful music and sound effects and stuff like even when you go to Mary's Gifts, her shop, you can hear like cars going by on the road
Yeah.
and it's very immersive. The entirety of the game is super immersive
And I think
and
it
it's
helps because
just
something about the
hmm
setting makes like every other aspect of the game like tie in really nicely. Like the
yeah.
characters feel really natural to the setting because of
hmm
how they're portrayed and how they're written and how they're voice acted. And it also makes the mystery feel really nice because you have the historical aspects and then of course the music like you mentioned. So I feel like when you have a good atmosphere and setting like this game has, it's like everything else kind of like hangs from that really nicely.
Yeah, it's a great game. It is a great just the whole thing is just very very good.
Hmm.
And I will say this is one of like the Nancy Drew games. Like I have like a certain like list of games where I think of like these are like the Nancy Drew games that
Hmm.
like make up like the foundation of the games like you would recommend like this is one of the first games I would recommend to somebody like in
Right.
like the top 5 games for a new player to play. This has to be one of their first 5 games,
Yeah,
and so it's just
this is a game that like this is among like the three there are three games that I recommend a lot for like a very first time player and this is one of them.
ooh, what are the other two?
Um Secret of the Old Clock and Last Train to Blue Moon
Mm,
Canyon, which is funny because like
yes.
they're all very close in the progression or like lineup. That they all come
Yeah,
from
yeah.
like kind of the same era, I guess, of games, but
And there's also a Curse of Blackmore Manor in there too,
mhm,
which is another fun game to start out with. A
absolutely
bit
fantastic
a
game.
bit
But
a bit puzzle heavy for a new
yeah.
player, but still very good.
Oh,
That'll be a fun
absolutely.
one to go over. But so what would we say our overall like ranking would be like from 0 to 10, how would we rate this?
I would rank this really high, like nine
Yeah.
and a half, probably. Like,
Yeah, I
I
was
don't
gonna
want to
say 9.5
say
out of 10 or something.
it is my favorite game ever, like in the whole series. This is the game that I always come back to. However, I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's pretty dang close.
Oh yeah,
And
it's so good.
I think just the things that make it not perfect are really just kind of troubles that come from just like the fact that it was 2004 and
Yeah.
there were some things that were just a little clumsy, and so I really can't even blame it for its shortcomings in those ways, but it's a
Yeah.
nearly perfect mystery game, I
Yeah,
think.
for a mystery game that came out in 2004, really good. Like,
Really good.
yeah, I still, maybe it's because I have the nostalgia effect going for me, but like I still don't see anything wrong with the animations or anything, except for like the little sway that Shorty does, the
Ugh,
chili or whatever it is.
I,
He
I
does that
don't
little
I don't
sway
ever
and
want to
it's
think about that again. Thanks for bringing it up.
yes, I will bring up the cursed aspect in every game. And so after I give my rating, we do have something we have to say about the cursed aspect of the game, but my rating for it is definitely going to be a 9 out of 10 because I don't think it has that extra 10 spot for like a perfect game, but it's very nearly perfect.
Yeah, it's
Um,
so
it might
close.
be the Banjo and the Roadrunner game that brings it
Yeah.
down, but
Uh-huh.
it is definitely like very highly rated, very good game, very fun. But now onto the cursed subject.
Oh.
We have decided to do a little thing called the Bald Man Spotlight. Whenever there is a bald character in the games, we must give him spotlight, and so we are
Because
spotlighting
bald is beautiful.
because bald is beautiful. And so we are giving Shorty a spotlight. So congratulations, Shorty. You are bald
I'm
and
prob
you are
he's
beautiful.
he's probably so proud right now. I mean, he's
Yeah.
in prison, but he's probably
He's
so
in
proud.
prison, but embrace your baldness.
Embrace it. I hope
So
you
yeah,
get a
that
nice
was
little head rub today, buddy. Was that weird?
no, it was perfect.
Okay.
This we're not going for normal in this podcast. We're going for Clue Crew, which means
A little unhinged, a little
slightly unhinged.
slightly
Yeah.
concerned. Like
Yeah.
everybody's a little bit
So
worried.
yeah, so you give it a 9.5, I give it a 9. It is a bona fide, solid, good game. So, do you
So
have any
do we
closing thoughts?
Not really. I love this game, and like if
Mm-hmm.
you have never played this game or if it's been a while since you've played this game, go pick it up.
Please.
Especially if you're listening to it the time of year that we're releasing this, which is like early
Mm-hmm.
fall. It's like that
Late summer,
perfect
early fall,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like that perfect time to sort of have this sort of vibe. So yeah, go make yourself, I don't know,
Force yourself to play this game because it's
yeah,
really
and
good.
eat some ribs or something cowboyish. I don't know.
Make a Shadow Ranch
Make a
cake!
Shadow Ranch cake and send it to us on
Eat
social
some
media.
the cake or
Yeah. Yeah.
mail
Digitally
us the cake.
transport.
Yes.
Digitally send the cake. I meant pictures of the cake, but that's fine too.
Yeah, just give us the cake. That'll be
Yeah.
that'll be good enough.
Yeah.
Well,
Please DoorDash cake to our doors.
yes. Specifically the Shadow Ranch cake.
Yes. Only that.
Even better if there is a marzipan tulip on it.
I
Like that.
actually adore marzipan, and tulips are my favorite
Ooh.
flower, so win-win.
Oh, so that's perfect for you, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Any thoughts for you? Any final thoughts?
nope, just yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Rootin'
Yeehaw.
tootin'.
Rootin' tootin', yeehaw. Oh,
Cowboys
what's
are
that
cool.
cowboy rules? Yeah, what's that cowboy rules mean? It's like the 3 rules of being a cowboy. Cowboy, like, be rootin', be tootin', but most of all, be kind. So, be like Dave. Be rootin', be
What?
tootin', and be kind.
I've never heard that, but it is so perfect. That's funny.
Yes. All right, so shall we sign off?
Yes, thank you guys so much for joining us on our little
Yes.
debut episode here. I hope that
Yes,
you guys had
our-
fun listening.
Yes, I really hope you guys enjoyed us. Enjoyed the little bit unhingedness, little bit lengthiness, but overall, we had a fun time recording.
Yeah, so
And
we'll be
you
back.
will-
Our goal is to be back every 2 weeks. So please join us again on our next episode. And until then, have a great day,
Until
everybody.
then, have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Stay sleuthy. Stay sleuthy.